Okay, so you're getting ready for this bindery operator interview,
Uh,
and you want to really nail it. We're diving deep into all the stuff RoleCatcher has, career guides and sample questions and even some AI insights to help you prepare.
yeah, think of us like your interview Sherpas or something.
Uh,
Helping you figure out not just what to say,
yeah.
but how to say it, how to really impress them with what you know about this job and the whole industry.
Yeah, and that's where RoleCatcher really gets interesting. I mean, it can really personalize your prep for specific jobs. But before we get into all that, let's back up a second.
All right.
What exactly is a bindery
Well,
operator?
it's a lot more than just like feeding pages into a machine. You're like the last step in turning a stack of paper into like a finished book or magazine or, a report. And that means you got to have a good eye for detail. You got to understand all these different binding techniques and keep up with all the technology because that's really changing the game.
Yeah, speaking of technology, the guide mentions all this automation that's happening. So how does that actually affect someone who's a bindery operator like today?
Oh, it's super important. Knowing how to work with all the digital printing workflows and the computerized equipment, it's a must-have these days. So when you're talking about all your experience, make sure to mention those tech skills. It shows you're not just pushing buttons, you get how modern binderies actually work.
Okay, that's a great tip. Thanks. Okay, let's actually jump into some of these sample interview questions. RoleCatcher gives us 10 common ones to work with. So the first one is, what inspired you to become a bindery operator? I mean, it seems kind of simple, but what's the strategy here?
Well, this is your big chance to really show them how passionate you are. Did you ever take a tour of a printing plant as a kid
Hmm.
and just get hooked? Or maybe you've always been fascinated with how things are made, Find a way to connect your story to what really excites you about this specific kind of work.
Okay, so avoid the super generic answers, like, I'm good with my hands. Got it. Next question. How do you ensure the quality of the finished product? This one feels like it's all about attention to detail.
It totally is. Really walk them through your whole process. Maybe you use a magnifying glass to catch any little imperfections, or you double check the alignment. RoleCatcher even has this example answer where someone talks about making a whole checklist based on common errors they've seen. That kind of proactiveness, it really stands out.
Yeah, it shows you're thinking ahead, not just reacting to problems after they happen. Okay, this next one's a little tougher. Have you ever encountered a problem while operating a bindery machine? How did you handle it?
Huh.
They're definitely looking for problem-solving skills here.
Exactly. Don't just tell them about a paper jam. Everyone's dealt with that a million times. Talk about a time you actually diagnosed the problem. Maybe you noticed this pattern of misfeeds, and you trace it back to like a worn roller or something. Highlight that analytical thinking and how you learned from that whole experience.
And I bet that's where RoleCatcher's AI feedback can be really useful. It analyzes your answers and suggests how to improve, right?
Exactly. It's like having your own coach, pointing out areas where you can be more specific or really show off those important skills that helps you fine-tune your answers so they hit the mark.
Okay, that's a game changer for sure. Back to the questions. How do you prioritize your workload when you have multiple jobs to complete? Classic time management question.
Yep. And a chance to really show off those organizational skills. Do you have a system for prioritizing? Based on deadlines or how complex the job is. Maybe you break down big jobs into smaller tasks, whatever your method is. Show them you can handle that crazy, fast-paced environment without dropping the ball.
So they want someone who can stay calm under pressure. Got it. Question 5 asks about your experience with different types of binding equipment. What's the key thing to highlight here?
It's all about showing off that technical knowledge. Mention specific machines you've worked with, like perfect binders if you've made softcover books, or saddle stitchers for magazines, even specialized stuff like die cutters if you've used them.
Can you quickly explain those different types of binding, just for our listener?
Sure, perfect binding uses adhesive to bind all the pages together, and it creates that smooth spine like you see on paperbacks or textbooks. And saddle stitching, that's where you fold the sheets in half and secure them through the spine with staples. It's pretty cost effective, and it's used a lot for magazines and booklets.
Okay, that's super helpful. Thanks. All right, on to question 6. How do you keep up with the latest binding techniques and technologies? This one's interesting because it's not just about the skills you have right now.
Exactly. You got to show them that you're a lifelong learner. Tell them about any industry publications you read, or online forums you're part of, or professional development courses you take, and even just going to trade shows shows that you're taking initiative.
Yeah, they want someone who's curious and invested in staying ahead of the curve. This actually reminds me of something in the career guide about the different paths a bindery operator can take.
Oh, right. You could specialize in a certain binding type, or move into a quality control role, or even lead a team. Showing them that you're aware of those possibilities, that shows ambition and that you're thinking long term.
Yeah, and maybe even tie that back to this question about staying up to date. Show them that you're actively trying to grow in your career. Okay, question 7. Can you describe your experience with quality control procedures?
Back to those details.
Yeah, but don't just give them a list of tasks. Really paint a picture of how meticulous you are. Maybe you came up with a whole new system for inspecting the finished products. Or you found a way to improve the process and reduce errors. The details are what really matters here.
All right, let's pause here for a second. We've covered a lot of ground already, and there's still more to come. We'll be back with the rest of the questions in part 2 of this deep dive.
Welcome back. Okay, so we're still going through all these Bindery Operator interview questions. And this one's all about safety, which is super important in any kind of production environment. Okay, let's hear it. Question number 8. How do you ensure safety in the bindery environment? What are they really trying to figure out with this one?
Well, they want to see that you're proactive, not just following the rules,
Yeah.
but actually thinking ahead and trying to anticipate any potential hazards. It's your chance to show off all you know about safety procedures, like lockout, tagout for when you're doing machine maintenance, but also just general workplace safety.
Right, so it's not just about keeping yourself safe, it's about looking out for everyone else, too.
Exactly. Talk about how you communicate clearly with your team, keep your workspace organized to avoid trips and falls, and don't be afraid to speak up if you see something that's not safe. That shows real leadership.
Good point. Speaking of leadership, this next one might tie in nicely. Question 9. Can you walk me through the bindery process from start to finish? I feel like this is where they're really testing your overall knowledge.
It's definitely about showing them that you understand the whole workflow. Don't get too technical here. Imagine you're explaining it to someone who's never even seen a bindery before. Just hit the key steps, like receiving the printed sheets, cutting, folding, gathering, binding, and finally, trimming and packaging everything up.
So you're showing them the big picture, not just your little piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And you can even work in those technology points we talked about earlier, like how all the digital workflows and automated equipment are changing things up in modern binderies.
Smart. Okay, last question. Question 10. How do you handle tight deadlines and last-minute changes to job specifications?
This one already stresses me out just reading it.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Hmm.
It's like a stress test for sure.
Yeah.
They want to see how you stay calm and adapt when things get crazy. Share an example of a time when you had to reprioritize everything. Maybe communicate with other departments to adjust the schedule, or get creative and come up with a workaround.
So it's problem solving.
Yeah.
But also communication and flexibility. Exactly. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI feedback on video practice can really come in handy. You can record yourself answering these tricky questions and get personalized tips on how you're coming across, like your body language and how to project that calm confidence, even under pressure.
Like having a mock interview with a pro.
Yeah.
Okay, we did it. We tackled all 10 questions. I'm exhausted. But honestly, I feel so much more prepared now just from going through all of them. What about you?
For sure. And the best part is we didn't just talk about what to say. We talked about how to say it. The tone, the details, and how to really show off those key skills they're looking for.
And we even wove in some insights from the career guide, like those different career paths and how technology is changing things.
Yeah.
But there's one thing we haven't really touched on yet. RoleCatcher's ability to tailor your prep for specific job postings.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's where the AI really shines. It actually analyzes job descriptions and figures out the most important skills and keywords. Then it helps you customize your resume and even your interview answers to match what that specific employer is looking for.
Okay, that's amazing. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
Totally. And remember those example profiles of bindery operators in the career guide? Those can be super helpful, too, for getting a sense of what success actually looks like in different roles.
Yeah, like that operator who made a quality control checklist. That showed initiative and attention to detail, which are probably good qualities for any bindery job.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder that it's not just about the technical skills. It's about having the right attitude, being willing to go the extra mile, and really having a passion for what you do.
Okay, we've covered so much in this deep dive, but before we wrap up, I want to go back to something we mentioned earlier about staying up to date with all the latest technologies. The guide talks about digital printing workflows, but are there any specific examples our listener could research that would really impress the interviewer?
That's a good question. I would say look into variable data printing. That's where each piece you print can be personalized, like for those direct mail marketing campaigns. Or you could check out web-to-print technologies, where customers design and order stuff online.
Okay, those are great suggestions. It shows you're aware of how technology is changing the industry and that you're actually eager to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. It shows you're not just happy with how things are, you're always looking for ways to learn and grow.
All right, I think we've given our listener a lot to think about, but I feel like we've equipped them with everything they need, the knowledge, the strategies, and the tools to really ace that bindery operator interview. What are your final thoughts?
I'd say go for it. This industry's always changing, which means there's always something new to learn. That curiosity, that drive to get better, that's what's going to set you apart. Good luck. We're rooting for you.
All right, so we've talked about what it takes to be a bindery operator and all those tough interview questions and how RoleCatcher can help you get ready. But there's one more thing we need to talk about.
Yeah, thinking about your future in this field.
Career paths.
Yeah.
So RoleCatcher doesn't just help you get hired. They help you figure out where you can go from there.
Exactly. Their career guide lays out all the different stages, from entry level all the way up to lead operator and beyond, with clear examples of what each step involves.
So it's like a roadmap. Our listener can see what skills they need to develop, what kind of responsibilities they can expect, even get an idea of what a typical day might look like as they move up.
And they have profiles of real bindery operators at different points in their careers, so you get these personal stories and insights you wouldn't find in a textbook.
Right. Like that junior operator who learned a new binding technique on their own time. I bet that initiative really impressed their supervisor.
It shows they're willing to go above and beyond, which is always a good thing. And it's a perfect example of how those transferable skills come in handy. Even if you decide to go in a different direction later on, that proactive mindset will help you no matter what.
Speaking of different directions, the guide also mentions some other careers that bindery operators might be good at. So even if this isn't the perfect fit for you long term, the skills you learn can open up other doors.
Absolutely. There are so many possibilities within printing and manufacturing. You could move into quality control or production planning, even sales or customer service, where your technical knowledge would be really valuable.
Wow, we've come full circle. We started with the basics, then we dove into those interview questions, and now we're exploring all these different career paths and transferable skills.
It's all about giving you a complete picture of this field, so you can make smart decisions about your future.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener? You're not just walking away with interview tips. You're walking away with a roadmap for successful career. Whether it's as bindery operator or something else entirely, you've got the knowledge, the strategies, and the tools, thanks to RoleCatcher.
And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid of challenges. That's what's going to help you stand out and really succeed in this industry. Good luck. We're rooting for you.